Charles, a lot of people have been showing videos from 4 years ago during the 2020 campaign. And Kamala Harris has always been stupid, but she was at least coherent back then. Something's going on with her. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Jason. Thanks for accommodating my travel schedule and the time difference. Yeah, I mean, nothing says that you're on top of your game after failing to participate in the primaries of 2024 at all, and in 2020 being so bad that you didn't get a single vote when you ran for president the first time. Nothing says that you're on top of your game more than delaying an interview for however many days it will be, I guess 29 days or more than that, 30 plus days, and then stipulating that your first interview, it has to be taped, pre-taped, so it could be edited. Wow. And you got to include this nitwit with you that you selected to be your vice president. I mean, nothing says that you're confident, you know your stuff more than that. And what I'm beginning to see, I see on my various Twitter feeds, I have 2 different accounts. I saw that there was a CNN panel that basically said Biden won the debate with Trump. All the experts on the panel thought, give me a fucking break.
Was this Jeffrey Toobin masturbating while he was on the panel?
I guess, and, it is crystal clear that Harris and Waltz are not even fit to be on the junior varsity of politicians. Neither one of them. The fact that Waltz actually made it to be governor in Minnesota tells you all you need to know about that fucked up place. He probably put together a coalition of Somali illegal immigrants and left-wing loons, but I'm repeating myself. So you select this guy whose wife kept the windows open, it's reported, during the BLM riots because she wanted to smell the destruction. She wanted to soak in all of that. I mean, that was, speaking of double standards, I mean, you have the situation in Washington, D.C., and elsewhere around the country, and New York City, where BLM and other rioters destroyed billions of dollars in property. They don't go to jail. And we've got 1,500 people arrested, many of whom are in jail or are facing jail time over January 6th. And now this tape that is resurfacing, I don't know if it's the same or a new one, where Nancy Pelosi takes responsibility for the absence of the National Guard. So it's crystal clear that we don't have influence shapers, we have censors. We have propaganda artists. And they are still very much in control, certainly in the networks, the 3 networks, arguably in cable news, the more respectable end of cable news, certainly to a degree in social media. I mean, we would be getting probably several million views had the trajectory that we started on continued 2017, June to the present.
True.
So we're clearly tamped down. You're tamped down. Other people who are trying to get to the truth are tamped down. And we have nitwits like Harrison Waltz and then the Dana Bash. I mean, give me a break. Have a real interviewer ask Kamala a bunch of questions. This woman is, she is not smart enough to be a nitwit. So it'll be, to do every one of our broadcasts, and we're probably at 1,000, just you and me, every one of them is live.
Yeah.
Or if it's, most everyone is live. A few rare occasions where we've taped, there's been no editing.
Exactly. That's called live to tape, even though we're not using tape, but we just do a live show, record it, and then play it an hour later. We're not editing things and changing it around or demanding that, CNN. I mean, that's crazy, Charles. I mean, just even if this was somebody interviewing to come and work with you at Dillon Reed, if they made all these ridiculous demands about how the interview would take place, would it give you more confidence in their leadership capability, or would it just disqualify this person right out of the gate?
Demands and job candidate mean instant rejection and expunging. I mean, that just never even.
But isn't that what she's doing?
She's ridiculous. I mean, first of all, you can't trust a thing the woman says, right? She's on major points. She excoriated Trump over the border wall, excoriated, voted against it. Now she's for it. Trump comes up with a no tax on tips. Now she wants that. It's inexcusable. I mean, on several occasions I've worked with world-beating companies. I mean, global number one, 80% market share, which is in danger of being deemed a monopoly. And companies like that love competition. It keeps them. If you have a big share of market, you're going to get lazy unless competitors challenge you. And this woman is lazier than George W. Bush. I would say Barack Obama, that people would say I'm a racist for only focusing on black people. But this is a lazy idiot who is a convenient tool for somebody, likely certainly Obama, but Obama's not directing this traffic alone. Somebody's behind Barack and her. Yeah. She's a lazy, corrupt fool. And what I'm seeing that's gratifying, I put up on one of my Twitters, or X's, whatever you want to call it, there's a very angry black man who just goes on a short, maybe 2-minute rant, dropping every curse word conceivable, but relating some vignettes that are interesting. He points out that she's making all these promises about what she will do starting in 2025. She's the number 2 in command right now. Why isn't she doing all this shit right now? Why doesn't she take the doddering old Mr. Potato Head out of his nap and say, Joe, let's do this shit right now? Right? There's nothing stopping her from doing that, and which this guy points out. Then he mentions that his mother, his sister, several other people have had to move out of their houses into smaller apartments to try to make ends meet under this team.
Wow.
And so I'm not going to say what he refers to her as, but Kamala Harris is an idiot. So is Janet Yellen. So is Barack Obama, frankly. So are the Democratic Party leaders pushing this garbage out. So are the campaign people. And Kamala is outspending Trump, apparently, in social media. She's got, apparently, according to one report, 175 people on her staff pushing out garbage in digital media. And this nonsense about, I didn't understand what the tan suit was all about. And B-Rock himself put out a tweet earlier, the last 24 hours or so, saying it started 10 years ago and it continues today. It's a picture of him in a tan suit and her in a tan suit. Now, when I started on Wall Street, you couldn't wear those suits other than in the summer. And it was considered a little bit, it's the kind of suit that you should wear on the weekend or something. If you go to a formal event, you were supposed to wear dark suits as a man. But, seriously, this is this is what we're going to argue, that Kamala Harris should be the president because she liked this. In that picture, he looks very dark skinned. Other pictures, he looks very light skinned.
But it's the tan suit throwing off the white balance, and this fat guy is like, "Why are you wearing a tan suit? You have me here in a tan suit. Disgraceful."
Right, but B-Rock was novel. I mean, honestly historic. The first African American president. Certainly an historic figure, and he'll be an historic figure for all time. The question is, when will historians get around to evaluating his record, which was historically awful?
Details, Charles.
Yeah, but did you hear that Kamala Harris is already making plans on her presidential library, putting together the books that are going to be in it? See Spot Run, Jump Spot Run. I mean,
yeah. No, it's that cartoon book about it giving blowjobs will be in her library. Well, serious question, though, Charles, because, listen, people were playing these videos of, they're talking about, she was really mean to Joe Biden in 2020. But the point is, she could at least, even if what she was saying was stupid, it was coherent. She doesn't even seem to be able to kind of complete an idea or answer a question that even just relies on her own opinion, not necessarily fact. She seriously seems like maybe she's on some kind of pills or drinking, or she seems kind of like maybe substance abuse. I don't know, right?
Well, drinking probably, but you think about, and I don't believe that what Acosta did was correct. But think of the way Jim Acosta at CNN treated Trump when he was president, interrupting him, talking over him, insulting him on air, right? That kind of scorn and cynical, nasty type of questioning and word twisting. Where is that version of the media evaluating Kamala Harris's record? And there are some people up in Canada bringing up this whole issue, and these are valid questions. What exactly nationality was her father? What nationality was her mother on the date that she was born? Where is that analysis? I haven't seen. You go on Wikipedia. You can't get to that.
Well, and Laura turned up all kinds of controversial stuff about the mother doing something with the sister, and there were 2 kids or 1 kid, or I don't know exactly what the details were, but it's more of this like birth certificate shenanigans.
Right, and then, but on her record, and today, I could go down a pathway of saying, well, I'll only respect people who graduated from Ivy League universities. I certainly don't believe that today. So where is her true record? Why did she go to Howard University from Canada? Why did she do that? Right? How did she get into Boalt Hall, University Berkeley Law School, which is a good law school? How did she get in there? What are her true, views about the economy? Is she a protege of her father, who's a Marxist, or her mother, who's a left-wing kook? Right? I think she is. So when she's very naturally talks about the collective, America is not a fucking collective, and the only collectives that work, the only people who benefit in a collective are people like Mao, who reputedly screwed 30,000 women. He had his pick of the litter. Wow. That is not what we want in this country. We do not want a collective.
It's like a Wilt Chamberlain kind of number. Is that even possible? I don't know about that.
Well, I don't know. I never met Mr. Mao. But, the thing how now, Mr. Mao? I mean, the thing I understand that happened is supposedly in the pre-meetings, that led to Nixon going to China, the first question that Mao asked Kissinger is, how many women has Richard Nixon screwed? Then he proceeded to brag. That could be an apocryphal tale that I'm remembering, but that's one tale I'm remembering. I do know.
Brought Milton Berle with him.
What?
He should have brought Milton Berle with him to China.
Exactly. That's nothing. Uncle Milty's got you beat. He does that once a month. But anyway, the thing of it is, communism has never worked. And what she's talking about as prescriptions, we don't know specifically what she's talking about. More than that, we don't know. We do know that anything she promises, she likely will renege on, because that's what she's very good at. Right? So this has nothing to do with her being a woman. It has everything to do with the fact that idiots are smarter than Kamala Harris and Waltz. And we don't need idiots, another 4 years of idiots running the federal government. We got some serious problems, including, I sent around this morning, my time, there's a Zero Hedge piece about Mexico. And apparently Mexico has severed, for the moment, ambassadorial relations with the U.S. and Canada, because our ambassador, Ken Salazar, maybe a Democrat, is properly raising questions about the decision in Mexico to elect all judges by popular vote, and not requiring the judges to have more than a few years of legal training. That's very dangerous. Mexico, I would argue, already is controlled by the cartels. And if you want to address violent crime in the United States, you're going to have to do something about the cartels in Mexico. And if the president and the leadership of Mexico are enthralled to the cartels, you're going to have a war against Mexico to take these cartels out. And
that's actually the one war that would make sense, isn't it, Charles? I mean, they're on the border. They're doing all kinds of illegal things, like, going and routing these cartels and eliminating their ability to do this stuff would at least be sensible. That's endangering our actual country, not all this stuff thousands of miles away.
And it's not, I follow the money. It's not surprising. If these cartels are making tremendous amounts of money every day with open borders, then it's easy for them to pay off and or intimidate officials who are obstructing this cash gold mine. So you got to go to the root of it. You got to say I'm not one of these armchair warriors who likes wars. I see what's going on in places like Aurora, California, New York City, other big cities, where violence is, in my view, out of control and unacceptably high. It's part due to this open border, which does not make any sense for us and must be enriching a lot of crooked politicians. That somebody like the honest version of a Jack Smith needs to be going full force against this, and they're not.
Well, what do you think about Jack Smith coming back with this superseding indictment, Charles? It's like, I did a cartoon image of the decrepit Terminator, because it's sort of like what the Democrats are. They just will not give up, They just keep coming back with the same stupid nonsense. Here's Joe Biden as the decrepit Terminator.
Yeah, Herbert the pervert, right? I mean, it's come here, little boy. I mean, it's just ridiculous, and I think it goes back before September 11th, 2001, and we have the 23rd anniversary coming up momentarily here. To worry about that. Then we get to worry about the Clinton Global Scam Fest initiative in New York, where they're going to talk about all their good works, glorify Hillary and Bill and Chelsea, otherwise known as Raggedy Ann. I mean, this is a very short window we have now to evaluate the two very different approaches towards governance at the most crucial period in American history, a recent period in American history. On the one hand, we're presented with two crooked idiots, who are, there's no cake, there's no substance to this cake, it's only frosting. And on the other side, we have a remarkable coalition coming together of independents. I saw a poll where Trump and Vance are now taking a majority of independents in a nationwide poll. It's important to understand that state by state, but nationwide poll, that's a remarkable accomplishment. And the team is gaining support in other polls, mainstream polls, lamestream polls, amongst African Americans and Hispanic Americans and people who haven't graduated from college. And these polls indicate to me that what I'm seeing, when you consider that most people will not answer questions from a stranger truthfully. They're going to be very concerned if they think about who is this person really. I don't know about you, Jason, and members of the crowd. I get requests daily from strangers, and I just block them. Different comments or whatever, I just block them. And I'm certainly not going to answer questions to a pollster. So, these polls are not telling what likely voters are going to do on election day. And if we continue hurtling off the cliff, as we now are doing economically, people vote their pocketbook, and they're not going to be happy on November 5th. And I think that the margin is too big to cheat at this point. It's too big to cheat. Doesn't mean they won't try, but I think it's too big of a chasm to stop the freight train from coming through. So they're going to have to try other means. You've done so much excellent work on the Butler assassination attempt. Increasingly, it looks like a setup. And it looks like a wider conspiracy than just one 20-year-old kid, or however old he is, or was.
Charles, did you see this? We just discovered that this video released a couple of weeks ago of, this is Matthew Crooks, the father, Fox News Digital, leaving a building here with somebody dressed up like the Invisible Man in the middle of July with a hoodie and a mask and a baseball cap. And they ask him if he has any comments, and he says he has to pee. He doesn't really act like a distraught father whose son was just killed on a roof. I think this person in the hoodie is Thomas Crooks. And the thing that's super interesting is it was just brought to my attention that the building that those two guys were leaving is Quinn Loge, the law firm. So my question becomes, are they representing Matthew Crooks? Are they representing Thomas Crooks? And if they're representing either of them, if that is Thomas Crooks and he's still alive, I don't understand how the crime fraud exception to the attorney-client privilege or laws around misprision of a felony would allow a law firm to represent somebody in a matter like this. Because if you're involved in covering up a crime, like if he knows that it's not Thomas Crooks that was on that roof and he's not telling the authorities that, it's misprision of a felony. Somebody else murdered somebody and he's not telling them that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the other thing that's interesting on this that I saw, and you're following more closely than I am, so maybe you saw this as well and have a point of view on it, but there's somebody was trying to get some record and was told officially that you can't have the record because now this assassination is the subject of a criminal inquiry in Western Pennsylvania. And they said, it said that it's specifically cited, you know, which U.S. attorney's office was handling it or whatever. And again, I can't tell readily. I don't have the time right now to go down every rabbit hole.
I have some interesting news to break, but we've only got about 3 more minutes here, and then we're going to be in the First Amendment forum. And I'd rather share this with sponsors anyway. So people who are already sponsoring the show on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, subscribestar.com, or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I've got some interesting information about exactly what you're talking about that I'll break in 3 minutes on the sponsor exclusive segment.
Good. So just in the remaining minutes for the YouTube audience, I think we all should be very concerned about what's going on now in Western Europe and Brazil and other members of the G20 who've decided all of a sudden that we don't really want free inquiry. We don't want free speech anymore. Governments know better. Technocrats know better. We got this. As the world careens towards, for the first time, a massive debt crisis where every country is in trouble. I mean, we've all gotten comfortable, you know, countrywide, with the notion of debt. People have got way too much debt, and the worst offenders, banks are pretty badly extended. Investment firms borrow a tremendous amount of money, and there is no magic pot of gold that can stop the entire planet from careening off a debt cliff. We certainly don't want to go through a process where we wake up one day and suddenly assets that people thought, i.e. the loans that they made or the government securities that they bought to finance their retirement just are worthless. And whoops, the very people who create this crisis will stand up and say, well, actually, we're in the best position to get us out of the crisis. So we're just going to stay in power for life.
Right. That's what they do.
I think the current system is not working. It is very badly broken. There's a coalition of intelligent, thoughtful people trying to solve problems. And then you've got Harris and Waltz, or whatever his name is. And people have got to look at this election very carefully, not simply at the top of both tickets, but down every position. And if these people are part of the existing program of destroying the private sector worker, they need to be voted out of office. They need to find themselves in the private sector and see just how well they do finding a job and keeping it. This needs to be an election where people don't just talk, they get out and vote. And Kamala Harris and Tim Waltz are disqualified, in my judgment, from holding any office of public trust. It should be a clear choice. It should be the kind of thing where you're talking to people who you care about and saying, listen, are you going to vote? Okay, you're voting. Have you thought this through? I mean, where do you stand on the issues and the candidates? when you figure out that they're in the right direction, you say, we got to convince fence sitters. We got to sit them down. We got to talk this through. We got to get out, and we've got to vote, and we got to make sure that our votes are counted legitimately and lawfully. This is an election where people have to get engaged, and I'm going to do that from far away.
Yeah.
But other people really need to do this, because we could wake up on the 6th or whenever the election is announced and discover we've got these two nitwits in charge of the federal government, and they've stolen votes to control the House and the Senate too.
We cannot
Welcome
have
to
that.
Cuba.
Can't have that, Charles, but we're going to continue this conversation in the First Amendment Forum. Good news about fence sitters. You don't have to sit them down. They're already sitting. You got to get them off the fence, though. I want to thank everybody who sponsors the show on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, subscribestar.com, and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. We'll be back in less than 5 minutes. Stay with us, everybody. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm going to reveal this piece of information that speaks directly to what Charles was just bringing up right there. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.